What is going on, chums, and welcome back to the A Game with Chums podcast. I'm your host this week, Rory, and of course I'm joined by the man without a hat, Paul. Where's your hat?
Where's my hat? I'm not wearing my hat.
What's going on, man?
I did wear a hat in the last podcast, but I'm thinking because you're referring to our previous attempt to record the podcast where I was wearing a hat, but today I've actually washed and conditioned my hair so it's nice and fluffy and not sticking together. But
stylish.
Nice and stylish. So I was wearing a podcast, but we had audio issues. Well, I had audio issues, so we've had to re-record this podcast. But yeah, I'm very well.
It might not be quite as off the cuff as it would have been yesterday, but we'll do our best. So, Paul, what have you been up to? I ask you again.
You ask, am I in a time loop? Because
yes.
I swear I've been asked this already. Yeah, man. What I've been up to, working, playing games on Twitch. Recently been doing continuing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition playthrough. I'm on Mass Effect 3. I'm about to go to the planet. The oh my god, I've forgotten the names of the aliens now. There's not the second.
Sorry,
not Palaven. What's the one after that? Priority Solus. The ones with the shit. Oh God, what are the names? Solarian planet. Yeah, I've got to go to the meeting to do that. So yeah, I've been doing that. But I've been playing through all the DLC beforehand. So the Omega DLC is bloody long. I thought it would be a short, hour or so. I've been playing it for nearly pushing 3 hours, and I'm still not done. I'm just like, oh my God, when's this going to end?
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that one.
No, because
my one playthrough of Mass Effect 3 at launch.
Because there was no DLC at the time for it. The only DLC is the one they made themselves, where they cut out a fucking plot critical character to sell it to people. Which I was like, I'm remembering that. I was like, that's a bit shitty what BioWare did there, wasn't it? But again, that's probably EA's influence on that.
Evil tendrils.
Yeah, so I've been playing that, watching the Book of Boba. I think it's okay. It's a bit weird. It's I don't know what it is with Jon Favreau even trying to make a Western, but in Star Wars sort of settings. It's slow paced. There's scenes in it, especially in the last episode, which kind of rubbed me up the wrong way because do you ever remember Attack of the Clones where Obi-Wan goes into a 1950s style diner?
Yes.
Yeah, that was really felt out of place, didn't it?
It did, yes.
There's a bit in this where it feels really out of place. It feels a bit too real world, which I don't think it's spoilers if I mention it. It's like there's a gang of mods, actual British. They all got British accents as well, so they all talk like, "Yeah, right," all that. So I was like, were they watching?
That's very bizarre.
Were they watching Quadrophenia or something like that? And they're all color coordinated. They were flying like speeders, but the mods. Mopeds, and they held all the glass, all the mirrors and stuff like that. I was like, this is Quadrophenia, but in Star Wars,
but on Tatooine.
Yeah, and it was really weird. So that sort of, that's like that feels kind of out. You know, when you like say
takes you out of
it. I was just like, what am I back in the 1970s England or something? Are the mods and rockers going to start fighting on Brighton Beach? Like, what is going on here? But yeah. Other than that, it's solid. The story is a bit slow. It keeps doing a lot of flashbacks, but any anime? I haven't been watching any anime besides playing games on stream. Not really been playing any games. Oh, Halo Infinite, but we'll talk more about that once I completed it because we're going to do like a podcast sort of spoiler.
We'll do a spoiler cast for that.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's me. So. What about yourself? Let me refer the question back to you. What have you been doing?
Hitting it right back at me like Novak Djokovic.
Oh, no, he won't be, will he? Because he got kicked out of Australia. He got his ass deported, man.
Topical.
What
have I been doing? I'm coming up on the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which is really good. It's like better than it has any right to be good. Like it's probably, I know we're in 2022 now, but it came out last year. By the time I finish it, hopefully tonight, probably be in my top 5 of 2021. It's a very good game. So nearly finished that. Still working my way through Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker very slowly because I'm filthy casual. I finished my playthrough of Ys the Oath in Felghana, which was very good. Currently working my way through the whole Ys franchise. And
Easy now.
easy now.
Yeah.
So many puns you can do with that
Oh
franchise.
yes.
I'm going to start Life is Strange True Colors after I finish Guardians of the Galaxy because I do like me a bit of Life is Strange. As for watching stuff, I'm up to date on Demon Slayer. Season 2 so far is very, very good. Definitely go and check that out if you haven't watched it yet. And if you're going to catch up, I'd say skip the movie and watch the movie arc instead because it's the movie, but there's some extra stuff in there, so just watch the arc. But yeah, season 2 of that is brilliant so far. And Attack on Titan's back, but I haven't watched it yet. I'll probably just wait until that finishes. I started a new show. Well, I started watching a show. I'm not actually sure how new it is. A show called The Faraway Paladin. I'm only like 3 episodes into that, but enjoying that so far. It is an isekai show, which I think we are all getting a little bit sick of, but enjoying it so far. It's nice to enjoy an isekai for once. But yeah, that's about me really. Just playing Guardians, watching a bit of anime, and that's about it. Sad
Excellent.
life I lead.
It's a very constrictive life. I give you that. But let's face it. I think everyone's been leading quite sad lives in the last couple of years. But
yes, at least it means we've got lots of anime watched and lots of games played.
I thought
working through that backlog.
I thought I'll be happy like with the lockdown and stuff because I was like, oh man, I stay in quite a lot anyway. But after a while, you're just like, man, I really want to like go out and do things with my friends and like meet, do like have life experiences instead of just sitting in watching anime and playing video games.
It's the difference between choosing to stay in and being told you must stay in, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
just
yeah.
It hit to use popular internet lingo. It hits different.
Yep.
Anyway,
yeah.
Shall we move on to the news, Paul?
No.
Oh, okay. Is there something else you wanted to bring up first?
Let's F off the news. No. Yeah, let's start with the news, mate. Gaming news. Let's talk about first. I think we should talk about the servers. Some of the Xbox 360 servers are going down. I think it's specifically Halo servers are going down.
Yeah, I admit I didn't look fully into it, but all the headlines have been Halo servers offline. So as far as I know, it's just like Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo 4, I guess. Servers going offline, which is, it's a little bit sad, I guess, because that's basically a large part of a lot of people's history, I guess. But had a good innings. Halo 3 is 15 years old this year, and Reach is just past 10 years old.
Happy birthday.
Indeed.
My favourite Halo game, Reach.
15 years old, Halo 3, huh? That's mad. But I still remember getting that game on launch day, the Master Chief cat helmet thing that you can't put on your head because it's too small. But yeah, had a good innings, and I think it's kind of dulled a bit by the fact that you can play the online of every Halo game basically on current gen now, and on PC as well with the MCC. It's not the entire online suite of those games, but I think there's enough there that you can get the experience for the most part.
So. Yeah, I mean the Halo Infinite. I'll just bring that up quickly. The multiplayer, like a lot of the console players want it to not be forced cross-platform because of hackers on the PC versions. Oh my god, they're really bad. I kind of like that. Yeah, there should be an option to just play non-cross play. It's like Apex. There's an option you can turn it on and off. Simple. So I think they should have that. And they'll probably implement that soon.
Yeah, they're going to have to, because as far as I'm aware, there's no anti-cheat enabled on the game yet. So people can just like load up wall hacks and aim bots and everything. And I've seen, like, there's clips all over Twitter of like people watching theater clips. Like they'll play someone and think that guy was definitely cheating, go into the theater and watch it from their perspective, and you can tell like they know where everyone is in the map, even like through walls and stuff. So it's obvious they're cheating. I've had quite a few suspect deaths myself, so. But yeah, they need to sort that out. Either bring in a cross-play toggle or bring in some strict anti-cheat, one or the other, maybe both. But yeah. But yeah, the Halo server's going offline. I think it's dulled a bit by the fact that MCC's out there. But yeah, bit of a sad one, I guess.
Yeah, very
Maybe
sad.
I'll go
Tears
back
are
to that.
tears are coming down my eyes, out
I
of
can
my eyes.
see
Yeah, sorry.
flowing forth.
Flying forth. Anything else, Mr. Ross?
Another quick one. God of War came out on PC in
Yeah,
the last few days.
it looks good.
Seems to be a really good port.
Yeah, looks
People are very
stable.
happy with it.
Because
So, yeah.
a lot of the just to piggyback on that point, a lot of the PlayStation ports of the exclusives to PC have not been very good. There've been some problems. I know Horizon Zero Dawn was a bit shaky when it came out. It wasn't really good. So
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess apparently.
yeah.
Yeah, that's been patched up quite a lot. I think it actually got a patch fairly recently as well to add DLSS, which is nice.
Cool.
But yeah, it seems like God of War has kind of come out of the gates and they've done it right
Yeah,
first time. So yeah, it's good news.
Congratulations.
Yes, well done, Santa Monica.
Well done indeed. Another piece of news, man, which concerns because I do a lot of, not a lot of streaming. I try and stream when I can, but there's a Pokimane, a well-known online presence. She recently got I think like a week banned or some. She got banned for a week for streaming the whole series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Not a good idea. She had a lot of people. It was again split. Her fans will defend her for some reason, even though that's very illegal.
Clearly a
and
bad idea.
very bad idea, and it could have repercussions further along down the line for Twitch and other streaming platforms, because like on YouTube it's like a minefield at the moment with copyright strikes, claims, people being blocked, people being striked either fairly or unfairly. So I think this is if people copy her, because I do know there has been people that have streamed live events like sporting events and music events, and I'm pretty sure like other people have streamed films and stuff like that as a watch along, or as a reaction sort of video. But it's very different from reacting from a trailer to actually showing a whole TV series on stream. So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's not like she was just like watching it like with her screen off camera, so that her fans could watch along with her. She was showing she was literally rebroadcasting it. So it's no surprise that she got a ban for it. But yeah, you mentioned like live stuff, like live events and music and stuff like that. That does feel like a bit of a grey area. We've done not streaming, but like we've been to Distant Worlds a few times, and we've recorded fairly large chunks of those concerts and put them up on our YouTube, like broken them down into songs and put them up on our YouTube. And
that's the
I mean,
thing.
they got quite a lot of views.
Yeah, they do. They do really well, and none of them have been claimed,
surprisingly,
or striked or blocked. Anything surprising? Like we've had videos like copyright claimed and
loads. No, we've had loads,
and partially blocked in some territories, but with those we haven't. And thinking back on it, probably I wouldn't do that again, because it kind of like, it's not really what we do. It's not, I don't know why we have music up there. What should have been done is we could have put them on our personal channels or something, or make a vlog of the event and just put little snippets here and there. That I reckon that would probably got claimed. But yeah, like a day out, sort of like a vlog, of the day. But I think we were just like looking for content at that time, so we just put it up.
I mean, they're still some of our best performing videos, sadly.
Yeah, we won't take them down, but if we do go to another like event where Distance World or any other sort of music event, I don't think we will record individual songs. It will just be a vlog. Yeah,
it's just it is the whole sort of copyright thing is kind of a mess. Like so, we've had quite a few of our videos claimed, and obviously we're not monetized, so it doesn't really matter too much. We've never had a strike, and we don't want one.
No,
but
no.
But videos do get claimed fairly often.
Yeah,
and,
we've been pretty good with, like, we have not had a strike per se. Like, it's 3 strikes and your whole channel gets taken down. We've never had anything like that, so we've been good. But we've had copyright claims for certain let's plays or videos, especially Life is Strange, where they had like the some music on there, and even though the music lasts about 10 seconds, that still the whole video gets claimed.
Yeah, and that's a funny one as well, because I remember when the game came out, I think someone from Don't Nod was like talking to fans on Twitter and saying, "Oh, don't worry about like your videos getting claimed. We'll sort all that. If you want to do Let's Plays, you want to stream the game or whatever, just go ahead. Don't be scared." And then we did it like a year later, I think, and yeah, our stuff got claimed.
Yeah, they certainly did. Yeah.
So it's just kind of a mess. But there you go.
Yeah.
But I think the main takeaway is don't rebroadcast copyrighted material on your Twitch.
It's very
That's a bad idea.
I think some of our fans were saying that, video games, well, can't, what's the difference? I was like, well, for one thing, Twitch was started to promote, like, for a video game platform, and a lot of video game companies encourage people to make videos, stream it. It's good publicity. It's good. It's good for the community. They see that, especially the Western ones. Some Japanese companies, especially the niche ones, are very
not fond of it at all.
Not fond of it at all. The thing is with Japan, some of it is still stuck in an old way of thinking. The more sort of Western style developers are more relaxed with it, but the ones that the sort of niche, that sort of more smaller ones, are very, very like anti, like, anyone showing anything from their game, especially Nintendo, which is weird enough, but they really like don't like people putting anything about their games up on YouTube.
It's funny because they put a feature in Mario Kart 8 that allowed you to upload your replays directly to YouTube. This was a feature they put in the game themselves, and then if you do that, they claim you the video.
Wasn't there like some sort of
I put a load up
Yeah.
I put a load of, well, not a load, maybe like 3 or 4 replay videos using their system that they put in the game to upload them to YouTube, and then they claimed my videos. So it just kind of feels like a trap, really.
Wasn't there some sort of partnership scheme that they tried to implement, and
everyone hated it?
Everyone hated it, so they got rid of it. But yeah,
and replaced it with nothing.
Yeah, but yeah, don't stream full films, TV series, or anything like that. Just don't do it, man. Like, you're going to cause more problems.
Not worth the risk.
Yeah, YouTube is already a minefield, and it's going to come towards Twitch, and it's just going to make people's lives a lot more difficult, especially if people do this as a full-time job. But yeah, Pokemon, stop it.
So our final news story for the week, and also probably the biggest one, the juiciest one, the most salacious one, was Troy Baker becoming Twitter's main character for a few days.
Good old Troy.
What did he do, Paul?
He murdered someone. I don't know. I'm joking now. Well, NFTs are becoming a big thing now, aren't they? For some reason, I don't know. Like, people with half a brain know that it's nothing. It's nothing really. But I don't really want to spend time explaining it, because, like, we didn't really know what it is. We sort of watched a couple of videos. We watched the video on it. I put a little link description for go and check out this video. What's the guy's name who showed it?
Josh Strife Hayes, I think.
Yeah, he breaks it down in simple terms. But basically,
for idiots like us.
For complete idiots like us. But basically, Troy has partnered with a NFT company. I think it's primarily it's like a voice acting NFT. So
Who the hell knows?
Who the hell knows? I don't know. Like I was like, what? So NFTs are also, you can also like do voices now, not just JPEGs. What the hell's going on? Like, but yeah, he for that moment in time, he was he was the main antagonist on Twitter. A lot of people,
final boss of Twitter.
A lot of YouTubers and online personalities rallied against Troy's decision, and a lot of people were disappointed with him. I mean, I've been like going through Twitter, Reddit, and yeah, they're not happy with old Troy, and for good reason, because as we know now, we thought NFTs had more sort of value, but they don't. I think I gave it more credit on our aborted our last previous attempt to record the podcast. I said that they own this particular artwork, and then they can claim it if you use it. But no, I was giving it more credit. They don't. It's nothing. They don't own it. They don't own anything.
You own literally nothing.
You own a receipt. Nothing. You own a receipt. So you paid all this money to own just a receipt that's saying that you're on this database, saying that you're part of this. You're just a number, but you don't actually own that particular artwork. So yeah, Troy's partnered up. He's probably. Troy has actually come out on Twitter defending, or no, trying to explain his decision, but he's also did a podcast with his friend Alana Pierce, which is Play, Watch, Listen or something, I think it's called, which I've listened to. But on the latest one, he's been told about NFTs, because apparently he didn't know much about them, which is weird. Why would you partner with a company you don't know anything about? Surely you would do some research. And he's a smart guy, man. He's an intelligent person. So I think he knew what NFT is. I just think he's taken aback about the backlash about what he's received. So I think
damage control, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's sort of rowing back on it, because you don't partner with someone and announce it on Twitter.
And not know what it is.
Not know what it is, especially an NFT. But he's done some more research. He's been told about it. I don't think he's not still partnering with them, but he's trying to like sort of learn more about it. But basically, he's not saying that he's not partnering with them anymore, but now he's realizing what they actually are.
He's going to say he's going to do his research.
Yeah.
So on top of the already kind of shadiness there is inherent in NFTs, where literally you're paying for nothing, the company VoiceVerse also looks like they've basically gone around stealing stuff from other people to mint as NFTs as well, which seems to be a very regular occurrence with NFTs. A few stories actually came out today of YouTubers having their YouTube links minted as NFTs and sold by people that don't have any kind of relation to the YouTuber.
There was an article on Eurogamer, I think it's today. It had James
Stephanie Sterling.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. And she was on there, and they've taken her image. Yeah, they were on
Pierce as well.
Yeah, they were on there, and is he gender fluid? They're gender fluid now, right?
What? Sterling?
Yeah.
Non-binary. Yeah.
Non-binary. Okay. Yeah. So they were on there. Then they had their picture taken without their permission, and it was sold, minted.
It's literally like their YouTube or Twitter avatar, and someone's made an NFT.
Yeah. Alana Pierce has had that done to her. One of Troy's friends. So
in a more sinister way as well. Yeah, made it look like she was on the cover of a porno mag or something.
Yeah. I won't like say what the image said or anything. I'm not going to give them any like sort of coverage promotion, but yeah, not good, man. And so for Troy to say, well, I didn't know about NFTs, didn't really do his research. I don't believe that. He's he's a voice actor, he's in business, he's got to do a bit of research and stuff like that. So I think he knew, but I could give him the benefit of the doubt, but then that makes you come across as a bit naive and a bit silly, like I'm pretty sure he's in his 40s, so he's not like a kid or anything. He knows. He probably has
around the block.
He has an agent as well, I'm pretty sure, so someone who can do who can do these sort of things. He's probably got someone who works for him who can do these sort of things like research and check out the company and what an NFT is. But yeah, it's not good. I'm not a fan of NFTs. I don't. If anyone comes at me with an NFT, I'll just tell them where to go. Yeah, you pay money for this online digital thing but you don't own anything.
You own a receipt, but you don't even really own a receipt because it's digital.
You don't even own the receipt. You just own nothing.
Let's just say Troy is treading on some mighty thin ice here, to steal a line from a character that he played.
Oh yeah, John said that.
Also, I've seen people posting Abby was right, which is
a lot of people are really
funny and slightly brutal.
Really putting the boot in on him. It's one slip up on the internet, man, and like people who don't like you for some reason will just gang pile you. I still think he's a phenomenal voice actor.
He is a very good actor, but he does seem like he's a bit up his own bum at times.
Well, can you blame him? He's tall, he's handsome, he's talented, he's a musician. You know what I mean? He's an actor.
He's white.
Come on. But he probably does have an ego. And a lot of people man.
In that line of work, you probably have to have some kind of ego to kind of get anywhere. But
he's a very stylish man, so he probably does. He takes care of himself. He's not scruffy like me or you or anything like that.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you heard me. But yeah, Troy, stop it.
Sort your life out, mate.
I know you can make a lot of money out of that, especially like NFTs for voice acting now. It's fucking weird, man. I mean, like for a voice actor, you should know this is a really bad idea, Troy. Come on, man. Troy, I know you don't listen to this, but please don't do it, man. Don't do it, please. But yeah, you've got anything else left to say? Like, I don't want to
about do it. NFTs seem like a complete scam, as far as like you mentioned that video we watched. Josh Strife Hayes, I think the YouTuber guy's name is, and I've kind of had a cursory idea of what NFTs are, but I was like, in my head, I was thinking, so you're buying nothing? And I was like, no, that can't be. There must be more to it. I need to. And I watched that video. I was like, oh no, you were completely right. It is literally nothing.
I actually, like I said before, I think I gave it too much credit. I actually thought like this could be like a copyright, like if they own a certain piece of like artwork, they could start claiming like people, especially if they use them in thumbnails and shit. But no, it's nothing.
That was kind of tripping me up yesterday when we first did this discussion, because like if he's gonna NFT his voice, you can't then own someone else's voice because he's still going to talk in that damn voice.
Yeah,
everywhere he goes. So that's what I was going to get hung up on that yesterday. But yeah, you don't own a damn thing.
Yeah, and then his tweet was a bit provocative as well with the line. He can either hate or create.
Yeah, something like that.
He's actually mentioned that on Twitter, saying that was a bit antagonistic, and he's apologized for that. So. Yeah, it's fair play. I think he has like, I think he's slightly apologetic, but I don't know if it could be of this time of this podcast going up online. He could like backed out this partnership, or he couldn't, but I kind of, I don't want to kick a person when they're down, but I did lose a bit of respect for him when he's done that, because selling someone nothing is it's proper snake oil salesman, man. Like, not even the snake oil salesman, he's literally they're selling you nothing. The NFTs have reached out to a lot of YouTubers and online influencers, and there probably are online influencers who are signed up for it, but we all know that they'll sell their mother, they'll sell their souls just to make some money. But with Troy, it was more like we thought he had a bit more integrity. And it turns out he doesn't, and for him to, I keep saying it, for him to say he didn't know is a bit.
Well, I mean, I think the fact they announced it with like, you can either hate or you can create, or whatever it was,
he knew,
kind of illustrates that he knew there was at least a lot of negativity around it before announcing it. But anyway, I think we've kind of exhausted that as far as our sort of understanding of any.
I think we should just go on and just shit on him a bit more, man. Like, make the whole podcast about that. No, I'm joking.
We do have a main topic which we should probably get to.
Yep, it's a
which
juicy
was,
one.
Over the weekend, Mr. Jez Corden of Windows Central fame, he of the also on the podcast with Randall Thor, the Xbox 2 podcast. One of the main sort of reporters out there talking Xbox and sort of rumors and stuff around the platform took to Twitter, approached his followers, and asked them what their sort of outstanding issues were with the Xbox platform. So, Xbox is on its way up now. I think we can all agree. Like, first party is huge now. Games are coming. We've got Game Pass. We're getting new games every week, pretty much. But there are still things that can be improved. So he took to his Twitter following to figure out what the main things are that people want to see improved. And I, for one, was surprised by what number one is. He's arranged it in a nice little pie chart. Maybe Paul can put that up.
No.
When he's doing his editing stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll put that up.
Just go to Windows Central and look for it.
I'll put that up.
Yeah, number one was game DVR problems, which is kind of surprising to me. Does that surprise you, Paul?
Yeah, like I'm not really into these sort of technical things about the Xbox. It's not one of my priorities. I don't really have much to say about that because it's not. I don't really care about that too much. It's never, every console like the previous generation console, I didn't care about it, and this one I really don't care about it. But I mean, like, what do you have to say about it? Because I know you like you're sort of got more of an analytical mind when it comes to these sort of things than I do, or you care more, I should say.
I do use game DVR pretty much every day just to capture like short clips of, like if I get a cool kill in Halo or something, I'll just grab a 15-second clip. Or if there's like, I've taken screenshots of Guardians of the Galaxy because it's a very pretty game. Beyond that, I don't really care. Like, it has some issues. Like every now and then I'll get a clip with no audio, which kind of sucks. But it's not really the end of the world for me. But I'm surprised that it's like the number one issue, to be honest, because I think there's bigger, not necessarily like bigger problems, but things that I think are more important, and I'm kind of surprised that is seemingly the most important one for the majority out there. I mean, it's 17%, so it's not a huge majority of people saying this is the biggest thing, but it is the largest slice of the pie. But I think a lot of people have problems with what you can do with like uploading stuff, because like on PS4, or I assume it's probably the same on PS5, you can just stick a USB stick in and move them over to that, and then you've got them on your PC or whatever. But there are loads of third-party sites like Gamer DVR that you can go to and just grab your clips from there, which is what I always do if I want to mess around with them. But there used to be Upload Studio on the Xbox One, which apparently doesn't exist anymore, which you could use to like edit clips together. So I think a lot of people want something like that back, but better. But I like I say, I use it for grabbing 15-second clips of like a cool kill in Halo. If I want to record anything longer, I just dig out my Elgato. So for me, it's not a priority. Like if they fix it up and make it better, cool. If they never do anything more to it, fine by me as well. Don't really care.
Yeah, because there's also like on that article, there's talk about the able to stream from your console, because obviously last generation they had Mixer, which was integrated into the Xbox, which was really good, and the quality of the stream was substantially better than the PS4. I thought it's much better.
Streaming directly to Mixer from the guide was really good.
Really good. Obviously that is no longer possible because Mixer is no more. It didn't grow as much.
Sad face.
It didn't grow as much as Microsoft would have liked. Like especially during the pandemic, Twitter grew. Even when they were bringing in like big stars like Ninja and stuff, and Shroud and stuff like that, still didn't grow that much. So they kind of, I thought they should have instead of paying Ninja and all these other people so much money. They should have tried to promote Mixer a bit more and save their money instead of like spending it on big names. But yeah, I think people that there is a Twitter app back is on there. Twitch app, which I've used once, and yeah, it's okay. That's before I got everything set up for my streaming, because God knows I never used OBS before, but now I've gotten to grips with it. That's what I use to stream.
Look, I remember our first handful of streams were doing it either direct from the Xbox on Twitch or direct on the PS4 from Twitch. The quality was always awful. It was like 340p or like 360p video or something. It was just like huge macro blocking all over the place. It was awful.
Yeah. It's just like I still think Mixer the quality was good though. So
Mixer was great.
Yeah,
there was genuinely really good.
There was a nice community on there. It was like a lot more chilled than Twitch. I think it could have grown because there was a lot of good personalities on there, and I don't know, maybe they closed it too soon. But yeah, like I think Xbox should put on, you got YouTube gaming. Maybe they should do something with that, and Facebook gaming as well, because I think they're partnering Facebook gaming as well. It's not like Mark Zuckerberg doesn't own most of the world now. It's also want to get into like streaming service as well, part of his metaverse, whatever. But
another term I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear NFT or metaverse for the rest of the year. Damn it.
Okay, that's a no go for Mr. Ross. No more NFTs, no more meta or anything.
Meta NFTs.
Yeah, but
the worst of both.
Yeah, it's a shame because that's one thing that the Xbox had over the PS4 was its streaming, because it was all integrated into the Xbox and it worked really well. And the quality was really, I think it was 1080p. It streamed that, so it was really good, solid as well.
I suppose that ties into number 2 on the pie chart, which is Xbox OS problems. People want to see the OS improved more, which I have some issues with the OS currently.
What are your issues?
When the Series X first came out, it was finally fast. Like the OS was really quick and snappy, and I've never had an issue with how you navigate it. I actually quite like the way everything's laid out. It's just the fact that it was really laggy last gen, and now it was really snappy. Seems to be going backwards a bit recently. For some reason, since Forza Horizon 5 came out, I've had a lot of problems with the guide. So I'll press like the Xbox button on my controller, and sometimes nothing will happen. Or sometimes the screen will dim, but the guide won't pop out. Or the guide will pop out after a few seconds. And then I've been playing Guardians of the Galaxy recently, as I say, and sometimes I'll open the guide to check something, close the guide, and then I've got no sound for a few seconds, and it's just seems really buggy at the moment. So I'd like to see whatever those issues are ironed out. I think that Microsoft have actually said there are some issues with the guide at the moment, so hopefully that gets fixed. But what about you? Any issues with the guide or the OS?
There's one thing I really want them to bring in. I don't think it's mentioned in the article, but it's a small thing. I think I've mentioned it to you a couple of times. I just would like some sort of ambient music coming from the Xbox, from the guide. Like when you got it on like the PS4 and PS5 and even the Nintendo Switch have like a little like sort of music playing. Maybe for even like when you upload like a sort of theme. I mean, like when Final Fantasy Remake came, I had the Tifa background, and it would play her theme. So I kind of want
sound effects and everything while you're moving around.
I kind of wish they'd do that. Like, just imagine like with Halo Infinite having that, like some of the orchestral score coming slowly from from your Xbox when you're, especially when you're navigating on the guide, so having some the sound effects and all that. It sounds so good, especially with the dynamic background. I think both me and you have it, of the Halo Infinite cover box art, where it's just like everything's moving around. Just imagine having the music still coming from that as well. I just think like, as much as I kind of like it, it's nice and clean and smooth. I kind of wish there was some sort of like, just some sort of music in the background, especially when you left it idle and just playing on its own. My PlayStation has it. Switch has it. They got that, they always have those kiddie music. It's not like Xbox haven't had it before. They've done it on the OG Xbox. You remember this old static, or had it on that used to be on there. Yeah,
the ambient sort of sounds and
yeah,
sounded like a robot talking to you or something.
I mean, you
Every
don't
now and then,
necessarily have. You could bring that back if they want, but I kind of like if they
just
would
some kind of signs of life.
yeah, like they'll incorporate some sort of like especially for their first party games, which is a lot of them are coming out now. Just some of the themes and stuff, some music coming from it. I don't know if the 360 had any music. I can't remember now.
Don't remember it. Remember
They,
doing so. They changed the OS for that like 3 times over the course of its life, maybe even more. And I don't think any of them had music.
I did like it when you went into the avatar, like creating your avatar. That had music on it, didn't it? Like a theme, like slow music. Yeah, remember when you
Possibly.
create? Yeah, I do think they did have it, or I could be thinking of because Nintendo sort of nicked that idea, didn't they? And I think I'm kind of thinking, am I thinking of Nintendo? Maybe the Wii, not the Wii, the 3DS or something like that.
The 3DS definitely has
Yeah, I might be
menu
thinking.
music. If you can call it music,
And
it's like looping sounds or anything.
I kind of want them to bring back the character, like you had your character on screen all the time, and now I'm like, oh yeah, my character's just my avatar now, and I kind of like it to have him on there. I don't know.
Yeah, they ignored avatars for years. I
Mm.
think probably in the wake of like Kinect and everyone kind of going, we don't want this crap anymore.
Mm.
And then I don't know, 2, 3, maybe more years into the Xbox One generation, at some point last gen, they were like, avatars are coming back in a big way, and they like remodeled them and everything, and made them look really cool, and like you could do things like have prosthetics and stuff like that. And then they never did anything with them. So you could go in and make a pretty cool looking avatar, but nothing ever used them. And like you say, the only thing you could do is like make a profile picture with them.
Because I remember when on the 360, like especially when like Mass Effect or a game came out, they had the little add-ons you could put on it and the costumes and stuff. You had it there. I remember I had the Omni blade on there and everything, and had the shit flying around my head, and that was cool, man. And I was like, yeah, well, we can use that. And when you're strolling through the menus and stuff, he would be there, or they would just be there, like watching and like looking around and stuff. I kind of
give
like
it a bit of personality.
Yeah, give it a bit of personality. I kind of wish they bring that back, because it is clean, and how it looks now on the Xbox, it just sort of seems a bit soulless. And I think having that, like having your avatar back, brings sort of a bit of character in there. Maybe you can they could probably do it now, like have it just walk past the screen or something like that, or something like when you're like strolling through the your apps, just have him like look in and stuff like that. Just something, I don't know, man. I don't think they'll do that, but yeah, for me, those are the main ones to have, like incorporate your avatar again, give it a bit of personality, have like ambient sounds, game music and stuff like that would be good.
Yeah, I think the like ambient music idea probably isn't too far fetched, given they brought in dynamic backgrounds this gen, so now at least we have some movement in like our desktop background for as it essentially is. Like you mentioned the Halo one, you can see like the beam emitter towers firing in the background behind Chief and stuff like that. So yeah, I could imagine like ambient music coming on at some point as like an addition to that. But I wouldn't mind if the avatars were more present, to be honest. I don't think they'll do it, but I wouldn't mind if they did.
I just kind of forgot about them. You know what I mean? Like
I think everyone did, even Microsoft.
It was such an integral part of 360, and that kind of what made it stand out a bit more, that they had that. And then the Xbox One era, they just completely were forgotten about, and they brought them back briefly, but didn't use them. But I kind of think like, yeah, they should bring them back, have us customize them again, have bits of the game. I used to love going through and like, I was like, oh, what am I going to put my character in today? This month I'm going to put him in some like cowboy boots or something stupid, or like a little Gears of War beanie, or with his chainsaw gun.
No, it's literally a character creator, isn't it? Everyone loves a character creator. That's when they announced it was coming back, I was quite excited, because I was like, I'll just get to mess around with a character creator and make kind of a version of me. But yeah, they just never did anything with them, which is a bit sad, really. But third slice of the pie, Paul. We're not going to go through every single item on here. We'll touch on the big ones as we as we see them, and then we'll maybe just mention a few of the smaller ones. But number 3, I should say, just in case people don't have the visual up, game DVR problems was number 1 at 17%, Xbox OS problems number 2 at 16%, and number 3 at 14% was Japanese game support. Thoughts?
Yeah, Japanese game support. There's a big lack of Japanese game support, and it also seems to be a lack of previous developers for Xbox. Especially with certain titles which seem to only be coming out on PlayStation. Of course, talking about Final Fantasy, which Sony have come out and said that they want the PlayStation to be the home of Final Fantasy, not by buying the IP or buying Square Enix or anything like that, but just sort of keeping it away from Xbox for some reason. So that doesn't help, because it's already like there's not a lot of support coming from Japan, or there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest from Xbox to sort of crack Japan, even though they've stated that I don't know if it was Phil Spencer or something like that, or some other bigwig has said that they aim to crack Japan. Like that's one of their emerging markets, because it is selling fairly well out there. Obviously, nowhere near as much as PlayStation, and definitely not as much as Nintendo Switch, which is like just trouncing everyone over there.
Dominant.
Yeah. But it's always been a lack of, I would say not always, because the OG Xbox had some exclusive games on there that didn't come out in the West. Obviously, they came out in Japan, where and also on the 360 there was games that was exclusive to Japan, like Steins Gate, for instance, was an 360 exclusive.
Which is kind of mad to think about.
Really mad. But there's also other games out there which I probably got a couple here. Like when we went to Japan, we bought some games that were on the OG Xbox and the 360. But yeah, so there has been. And I know the OG Xbox had a lot of games from Japan, that came out in the West. So it's not like they haven't done it before. Obviously, because they made a deal with Sega, so there was a lot of games from Japan coming from because of Sega. But that the Xbox One, a lot of I don't think there was many JRPGs that came out on the Xbox. That not the big ones. Not talking about the Final Fantasies and all that, but
a very small handful.
Yeah, really. Like all the niche sort of like JRPGs would come out on the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, but
and increasingly PC, which surely makes the idea of an Xbox port fairly easy, because it's all DirectX. But apparently they didn't want to branch out that far. But I'm glad that this is number 3, because to me it's my number 1 thing I'd like to see improved.
Yeah, I would as well.
But I look on forums and stuff, and you see people saying, "Oh well, these games aren't coming because nobody wants them." That's why. And if you want Japanese games, you should buy a different platform and stuff like this. So I'm glad to see that it's like number 3 on the list, because a lot of people that are into Xbox seem to want to downplay it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bit annoying when people talk on behalf of a whole country when they're saying, "Well, it's Japanese. PlayStation's Japanese." Japanese just want to play on. They want it's just for Japanese gamers. The West shouldn't really be doing like trying to sell their games to Japanese people because they only like Japanese games. I'm like, no, you can't really talk for a whole country. There probably is people in Japan that like Western stuff. They like their films, they like their movies, they like the movies, food, they like the celebrities, they like their music. So why not the video games? It doesn't really make any sense. And I know there are some actual like proper like dedicated fans of Xbox out there who want to buy it because maybe they want to try something different, something from not produced in their countries. Because obviously, like look at like iPhones were not a thing when I went to Japan in 2010 and 2011. It was all their their own domestic flip up phones. There were no like smartphones out there. But fast forward to 2019, we weren't there. Apple is like it's replaced the old their phones now. Everyone's got an Apple phone. Apple stores everywhere, so you can't really say that the Japanese people only like Japanese games. They like the Japanese. No, it's not. If you market it properly, if you invest enough in there, it will thrive. And it's proven. Like people love like their Marvel, their DC characters and stuff like that. They like Western products, but
It's like
for some reason,
Apex, even talking about games, Apex is huge in Japan, isn't
Apex is huge out there, man. And so yeah, if you market it right, if you sort of look,
if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like the Xbox have done some stuff where they've made like sort of like anime style like
mascots
and stuff, which that would help to appeal to
Xbox Chan,
or the sort of otakus and like sort of like that sort of culture and stuff like that, the gaming culture. That does help and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just that I think like Xbox don't have any studios out there. They have one or something like that. Just the one.
Tango Gameworks.
Yeah.
They got from the Bethesda acquisition.
It probably would help if they either, I don't know if they should purchase any studios. They should probably build their own studios. They got the resources. There's a lot of talent out there in Japan. There's probably a lot of hungry people. Like these people go to universities and stuff to learn about it, to study about it. So they're out there. So they could like hire some like really talented, especially like you would hire like someone who's obviously has got experience. Then you hire all these young, innovative people with new ideas and just create for the Japanese people. You got to like cater to their sensibilities, but I do think like say like games out in Japan do quite well, like Apex and stuff like that. So it's not like they're averse to like to Western games, but yeah, there's plenty of it they could do. I mean, they clearly got they want to do it. I mean, they've talked about it. They've got the money for it, so they can do it, and
they're willing to spend money at the moment as well.
I mean, like maybe having like the Western company will be more appealing for Japanese, because there's no secret about like especially like old sort of style Japanese companies work their employees pretty hard. You do long hours, you can't leave until the boss leaves. But like in Western companies in Japan, it's more of they have that Western attitude. When you do your work, you finish, you go home, you see your family and stuff like that. You don't have to stay until like 10 o'clock and like go out drinking or stuff like that and then do the whole thing again. I know there's crunch hours in the West. That's been widely reported. But in Japan, it seems like it happens. It's just a normal day for them. So maybe if they do open the Japanese studios, they will have that Western sort of like rules and stuff like that. So it could be more appealing for them.
Office culture.
Yeah. It could be more appealing for them as well. And who doesn't, man? Like over here, we work for various different like multinational companies and stuff like that. And if you like, for a Japanese person, that could be a good way for them to like look good on their CV working for Microsoft, Xbox and stuff like that. And maybe there's ways to improve their English and stuff. Who knows? And they can go over to America, the West. You know what I mean? I could be talking a load of crap, but it's a thing. Like getting back to it, Xbox does need to invest more and stop like having like games taken away from them that were multi-platforms and stuff like that. But I kind of like Atlas with Persona. I don't think that's ever going to come out on anything but PlayStation. It's not even out on Switch.
I agree. If they haven't bothered to put it on the platform which is dominating in their home country, the Switch, it's never going to come to Xbox. Like the PlayStation is obviously doing a lot better than Xbox in Japan, but it's not doing particularly well. The Switch is just completely dominant. And if they're not putting the game on that, then clearly there's something more at play than it's not an issue of we want to branch out, but we don't see Xbox as a potential. Because if they had that mindset, it'd be on Switch already if they wanted to branch out. So I think there's something more at play with Atlas and Persona. I think they're just a bit old-fashioned, and they're like, Like Persona belongs on PlayStation, Shin Megami Tensei belongs on Switch, and that's how it's always been, and how it will always, well, not always been, but it's how it's been for a while now, and that's how it's going to stay. It just feels like a weird, like, sort of anachronistic thing going on.
Yeah,
But yeah, like, sorry, go on.
It's not like Atlas hasn't released games on Xbox. They have done it, like, so it's just that particular title that they just don't seem to want to have a, like, Persona, that they won't want to put it on.
Yeah, like pretty much the only Atlas game that has been on Xbox is
Catherine.
Catherine. So there have been, like, there was the two Persona fighting games, but they were made by, obviously it's an Atlas property, but they were made by Arc System Works. And Arc System Works have abandoned Xbox last gen as well. You never get any more Arc System Works games unless it's someone else's property, like Dragon Ball Fighters. Like Blaze Blue stopped coming to Xbox. Guilty Gear didn't come over. So people are, some of these teams are abandoning Xbox, and you've got stuff like Square Enix moving to being money hatted away by Sony. And they're just kind of, they're in a weird position at the moment where in some respects it's worse than it's been in the past, like with, as I say, Final Fantasy moving away. Who knows what Sony's going to do, because at the moment stuff like FF16 is timed, but that and Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're timed at the moment, but they keep extending it with FF7R. So who's to say they won't just keep extending it with 16 and it just never comes to Xbox? And that sucks. But in other ways, it's better than it's ever been. Like, we have the entire Yakuza series on Xbox now. You couldn't have said that sort of 3 years ago. We've had Dragon Quest finally made its way over. We had Kingdom Hearts come over. The whole series of that, well, not the whole series, but all the main series stuff is there now. Octopath Traveler came out of nowhere.
And Game Pass as well.
Game Pass. Sega put out Valkyria Chronicles 4 when they hadn't put any other ones on Xbox before. So some publishers, Sega in particular, are properly embracing Xbox, and some others are going the other way. So it's kind of, we're in a bit of a weird period at the moment. But
yeah,
I think, like you say, the idea is probably build some studios up, because I think they're going to struggle to acquire anyone. Because if you're Xbox and you're going to acquire a Japanese studio, they have to basically expect they're going to lose the entire domestic market. So they'd have to be okay with that, and I think a lot of them won't be okay with that. So I think the idea that what they're going to have to do is try and build some studios up out there, like you said, which takes time. It's going to be like, start building a studio, it might be 5 years before they put a game out. But they have partners over there that they could do this with. Like, they've worked with Hironobu Sakaguchi before. They've had exclusive games from the father of Final Fantasy, and they didn't kind of keep at that collaboration with him. Like Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon could have kept them going.
Didn't the sales improve with when they released those games?
Yeah, if you look at a graph of the 360 sales over time in Japan when those games came out, it's like trundling along. And Lost Odyssey comes out, big spike, and the same with Blue Dragon. So part of it is going to be, like, obviously there are some people that will just, in Japan, that will just never entertain the idea of an Xbox, because it's just not anything they've ever really had to think about. They're getting what they want elsewhere, and that's fine. If you're getting what you want, you're rarely going to look elsewhere. But there are people that will buy the system. Like, we've seen the series consoles seem to be actually doing pretty well for as far as Xbox goes. So you need to give them content for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, you could try and partner with Sakaguchi again, maybe try and build up Mistwalker, or you could work with Yukio Futatsuki, who used to be at Xbox Japan. He was Sega alumnus, basically the creator of Panzer Dragoon, one of my favorite series of all time. He put out Phantom Dust on the original Xbox. Work with him again, set a studio up around him or something. Or you've got Tomonobu Itagaki, who is a big proponent of the Xbox in the early days. Dead or Alive 3 and 4 were Xbox exclusives when they came out, which is kind of mad to think about now. Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden 2 were exclusives at first on Xbox. I think that guy's got a lot of love for Xbox. I think you could probably start something up with him. But yeah, it's not going to be a quick fix, unfortunately. But say just kind of in a weird place where some things are better than ever and some things are worse than ever. I think we have to discount at Persona because I
Yeah.
don't think that's ever going to happen.
I just want like the those would take time, but in the meantime, they could probably like get some of the games that are sort of like niche Japanese games to come over to Xbox. Put them on Game Pass or something like that. Just so it have more sort of like diversity, but more sort of like variety. Because the last gen with the Xbox, it was barely anything on there, man. Like
very slim pickings.
I was like, I want to like play some sort of niche Japanese game, like, especially the JRPGs. Is it Tales coming to Xbox? Yeah, that's on Xbox, isn't it? Tales.
Yeah, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition.
Yeah, that was a 360 exclusive.
That was the original 360 exclusive in the West.
Yeah.
But at least we got the remaster, which if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just see it there on my shelf. And then Tales of Arise that came out a few months ago also hit Xbox.
And Star Ocean, remember the when that came out?
Star Ocean 4,
that was
timed exclusive, I think. And then they remastered that and put it on everything except Xbox. Thanks, Square Enix.
Thanks, mate.
The next Star Ocean is coming to Xbox, but it kind of looks a bit ropey, and Star Ocean 5 was genuine garbage. So
yeah, I did a reaction video to the Sony showcase, and I wasn't impressed. And someone called me out on the comments, which fair enough. Yeah, still look like garbage though. I was like, what is this? This looks kind of shitty. Yeah, in other words, man, like, yeah, just they're working on it. I think like they have said that they want to. That's their expanding market.
They've brought it up, so they're definitely aware. But one thing I would like to say, just in case Phil Spencer or Sarah Bondo or whoever is responsible for this is watching this, they won't be, but
if they're listening to it, even
it kind of ties into what you said a minute ago about the more niche stuff. But if you're going to get left out in the cold by Square Enix signing deals with Sony for the big stuff like Final Fantasy, then look at some of the smaller companies. Look at Falcom. Falcom have got tons of content, pretty engaged fan base that are very enthusiastic about their games. And they've been branching out recently. They've put their stuff on Stadia and Luna, so I don't think they'd say no if Xbox kind of knocked on their door and said, "Hi, can we pay to port your games to Xbox?" They'd probably be like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And there's a ton of games there, like the Ease series, which I mentioned earlier, that I'm halfway playing through the series at the moment. The Trails series, there's a load of games there that you can just get into Game Pass and get people playing, get people introduced to. And yeah, the only reason I can think that they aren't on Xbox is that Xbox just haven't thought about it. Like maybe because they're quite small, it just hasn't occurred to them. I don't know, but I feel like Falcom would say yes if Xbox came knocking. So Xbox, go knock.
Yeah, and go and talk to Platinum Games again, because I know it didn't work out last time with Scalebound. Go and talk to them again. I'm sure they've not been doing too well recently. So maybe knock on their door and see how they're doing. Because they were a top tier studio. It's just that
I was so excited for Scalebound. Yeah. I was devastated when that was cancelled.
Yes, I don't think they've done too well recently, but they're still a really good studio, and maybe go and talk to them and see how they are. Maybe patch things up and make another IP for them. This time, not have it be so
just maybe rein it in a bit.
Yeah, not be so goddamn ambitious that it falls apart. It falls under its own weight. But yeah, man. That's what's the next topic, Mr. Rawls?
Number 4, with 12% of respondents, first-party game improvements,
which Xbox have done. Like they have they've acquired a lot of studios. They've opened new studios. So they are doing it. That was one of probably the biggest gripe about the previous generation Xbox One.
They had literally no studios.
Yeah, it's that generation didn't start off well with Xbox. Don Matrick and his presentation of the Xbox One and his flippant remarks and the always online, everything about it was just terrible, man. Like
What a Wally.
that was so bad. And shared games, you couldn't buy secondhand games and everything like that. It basically, they did Sony's job for them. The way they just handled that wasn't good, man. But when it first released, they had some good games on there. Like, it was some good games. I think they had a stronger lineup than PlayStation did. But that reveal wasn't good, man. But yeah, since then it's taken a sort of like it's taken a battering, man. Like, yeah, didn't have many studios. A lot of games were just coming out exclusively on PlayStation, even though they weren't owned by Sony or anything like that. They just, like, it seemed like every game wanted to go out on PlayStation but sort of leave Xbox behind, and that happened for a while until sort of Phil sort of stepped in and took over and sort of steadied the ship so it wasn't right some of the wrongs and sort of like get to grips with it. I think the task was huge, more bigger than we thought, because there was even rumors that Microsoft was going to shut Xbox down or something like that, or sell it off. Glad they didn't, because now they're sort of doing really well now. But yeah, it's always been an issue, like with Xbox since the 360 days, of the sort of the first party games, which is a bit unfair to say because they have released some good games, but especially with PlayStation 4, they PlayStation 4 had many games that they had from last gen, or people's favorite games of all time, but they all had like sort of one thing in common: they were big budget, high production values, great voice actors, and they felt they were like single player narrative driven games, and they done all really well, and they had like sort of high marks and stuff like that. They set the sort of, so that, like, like Marvel has done on films, that's where they were. They sort of set that high bar, and I don't feel like people kept thinking Xbox don't have that sort of same sort of game as of yet. Halo Infinite is a really good game, really good, solid game, but it's I think people still want that sort of that one, like, I'm gonna say that The Last of Us, that sort of big operatic sort of cinematic, like the one that really, like, strong narrative, good characters, well written characters, and it brings, it's like a roller coaster, like, of emotions, makes you cry, makes you win, like, I mean, there were that game, in that game series, even though the second one's a bit divisive, it's still good, pretty good, man. And it had those emotional moments in it, which it doesn't seem like Xbox has. But I'm gonna say that I don't think that's 100% fair, because I can think of one game from the last generation which I thought it ticked all those boxes and doesn't get enough recognition, or criminally overlooked and underrated, which was Gears 5,
which also shares the main character's voice actor with The Last of Us 2.
So it ticked all the boxes. It had a good, strong narrative. It had amazing graphics. I mean, it looks so good, man.
Absurdly good looking game.
Big voice actors, and the gameplay solid. I mean, Gears has always had strong gameplay. I mean, like, there were so many Gears clones and ripoffs because of the gameplay. The gameplay, was so good. But that sort of, everyone's sort of forgotten about that, or just didn't give it the credit that I think it really deserved, which is sad, man, because that did have like emotional beats to it as well. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some sad moments in that game, man. But yeah, that just sort of, that doesn't get talked about when people talk about Xbox's first party lineup not having that sort of big budget. And I'm like, well, they did. They had Gears 5. Gears 5 was everything. Like, you can compare it graphically to some of their games and bring pretty surpasses them or on the level of their some of their best games, or PlayStation's best AAA games. But
yeah, I think people very much undervalue Gears 5. Like when that came out, I played it on the One X, and I just remember thinking, how the hell does this look this good? And it's running at 60 FPS as well. It's running twice the frame rate of all these other big budget games, and it looks just as good. And I don't know what the hell they were doing with like the temporal upscaling or whatever they were doing, but it looked so clean as well. An incredibly clean looking game at 60 FPS and one of the best looking games of its time, and it's still one of the best looking games out there. And yeah, people talk about Microsoft doesn't have any of these Sony games, as people seem to call them these days, the big third-person narrative-focused games, and I'm like, well, Gears 5 was all of that. I think really the only issue with it is it says 5 on the box. You know, it's a series that people they're either already invested in or they already know they don't care about. So it's just easier to dismiss it when, oh, it's just another one of those games. We've had loads of them. And it's a bit unfair, but you know that's kind of how people's brains work, I guess. But yeah, the big refrain seems to be that they don't have anything to answer, like the God of Wars or the Last of Us and that. And I think that kind of undervalues a lot of other types of games out there, because don't want to get into any kind of console warring nonsense because that's not what we're about. But there are people out there for whom it seems like those kind of games, the big single player narrative, big budget games, are the only games that exist. Like that's all they play. And if you don't have those games, you don't have any games. And it's just, I don't know, like you've got like Flight Sim just came out this year or last year now on Xbox Series X and is a complete and utter mad technical marvel. But Microsoft don't have any good looking games because that one doesn't count.
Apparently, Forza Horizon 5 doesn't
But
count either.
I don't know. Run up to like Game Awards where it was getting snubbed left, right, and centre because it's a car game, despite being the top rated. It's the best rated game of 2021, and it got snubbed like that. And I remember seeing discussion about it on Twitter and forums, and people were like, "Well, yeah, of course it's not in a Game of Year discussion. It's a car game," as if that makes sense somehow. Like, well, obviously, it isn't Game of the Year. It's got cars in it. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But so I think it can be quite limiting and quite detrimental to the medium, really, when people are like, "Oh, like third-person AAA narrative game or bust." But given that's where a lot of the chatter is, yeah, Xbox probably does need to do more in that area. But you know, they've got 23 studios now. You go back to just before E3 in 2018, so what, 3.5 years ago, they had five studios. Now they've got 23. So people are just going to have to be patient. I know people know the absolute state Xbox first party was in last gen, and people are sick of waiting. I understand that, but if you've waited this long, then surely now you can at least see there's a light at the end of the tunnel now that they own all these studios, and you know stuff is going to start coming. The first party organization is going to start pumping stuff out. But I think the main thing is going to be new IP, because obviously there's like the meme from pretty much the tail end of the 360's life, really, Halo, Gears, Forza, and even through to sort of like the first year of the Series X, it's kind of been carrying the same games have kind of been carrying it. Like you had the Series X update to Gears 5, which was incredible, and then the Hivebusters DLC, and then 2021 we had Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5, both of which scored very high and were very, very good games, but don't really move the needle because they're more of the same. So I think people are just going to have to hold on tight until the new IPs and the stuff from the new studios start coming out. And we know they're coming.
We know they're coming.
A handful have been announced.
Yeah, I kind of would like an update on on the progress of them, maybe like some gameplay footage or another trailer or something like that, just to whet our appetite, because there are, like I said, there's a lot of studios they own now, and we do know that there's a lot of IPs coming out. You got your Perfect Dark, you got your Fable, you got your Avowed, you got your
Redfall,
Redfall,
Starfield.
yeah. So that's all coming out, and there's plenty more cooking away in there, because the amount of studios they own, even before Bethesda, there was some, because it's always like people are like, well, yeah, that's good, but they haven't got that big AAA game that these developers are not known for doing it. A lot of the studios that they own were like sort of more indie sort of studios and stuff like that. They want the action,
the Naughty Dog or the Sony Santa Monica.
Like so I think with Sony, that's their thing now. They will keep re-releasing The Last of Us again, because I think they're doing another PS5 remake or something like that.
I still don't understand the point of that.
I'm not great.
The PS4 version of it still looks really good, so I don't get it.
Yeah, and they re-released Uncharted. So yeah, like I think like the Xbox, they're doing the right things, and who knows? They could be like, I'm hoping like for like sort of like a new IP that they're developing or something like that we don't know of, that they'll be like showcasing and go, hey, look at this. This is just, I don't necessarily, because I think like Xbox has taken sort of a different step. They've taken a look at gaming differently. They want it to be inclusive, like multiplayer, like online, friends, family, where everyone can have fun together. Don't just has to be a story-based game, a single player game. They want everyone. They want you to play online. They want you to play on their cloud servers and stuff like that, just so like everyone's playing together. So they made a lot. They seem to focus on that, but like primarily, like, but we do know that they are also developing like their sort of big budget games. It will be when they do get released, they will be compared to Sony's games, because they already got the titles out there to be compared to. So that's like, people are always going to sort of compare it to Sony's big games. Like I say, God of War's, their Horizon Zero Dawns, and their Ghost of Tsushima, yes, and but even then, when Sony, like, they released Days Gone, but they canned that, didn't they? They're not going to do a sequel to that because it didn't get the prestige and the accolades that some of their other games got, even though it did pretty well. But people, I do know that it wasn't universally loved. Didn't really interest me when that game came out. I was like, no, I'm not going to buy that. They sort of biker protagonist, Deacon St. John, or whatever his name was. I was like,
I still can't get over that name.
I was like, wow, man, that's yeah. It's like they put that name for an auto generator, like for a biker, just that came out of that.
Awful.
So yeah, so it was a concern, but I'm not as concerned anymore, to be honest. Like they've done so much like acquisitions and open studios, they're putting so much support in their first party studios, and like I said, they're probably not done. They're probably still going to buy a few developers, maybe like open some places in Japan, like still get
they need at least 2 more to get up to an even 25.
Yeah, so I'm not as concerned as like I would be, because like I said, the Gears like was a phenomenal like game and bit of storytelling and stuff like that. Even though like people say, well, it's just the same game again. Like it's a sequel, it's a fifth one in the long running series. I'm like, well, yeah, so was Uncharted. Uncharted 4. That's still going, and people like still want more of that game. So you know, like what's the difference? You know, it's still Uncharted or pretty similar. It just followed the same pattern each time. You know what I mean? It was the same sort of game, but different setting. Pretty much
with
doing
the
the same.
grappling hook in one of
Yeah.
them.
Oh yeah, that, and you can pull people from behind cover and stuff. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, they got a sled in in Mass Effect, in Gears 5, so it was slightly open world, even though it was quite empty, but still good. I mean, some of the zones in there were phenomenal, mate. You know, so
Genuinely a fantastic game.
yeah,
Honestly, I don't.
but
But like I say, I get it. It's number 5 in a series, and either you care or you don't. But people just minimise it way too much, more than it deserves. But the Coalition are supposedly building a new IP alongside Gears 6, so I think that is going to sort of show us those. That team is like a master of Unreal Engine. I can't wait to see what they do with UE5. They're like phenomenally technical studio. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I say, if you've hung on this long, I can't see how you can be losing patience now, because we're kind of at the starting line for the good stuff. Like, they have all these studios now. Stuff's already started coming. I mean, in 2021 we had Forza 5, Halo, Psychonauts 2, God, other stuff completely slipping my mind.
They had Deathloop, but that came out. That was on,
Yeah.
you know, PlayStation bought that exclusivity, but it's still like a part of the Microsoft ecosystem. So,
and same thing with Ghostwire Tokyo, which is coming up. That's going to be a fully Xbox IP at this point, and coming to Sony for a year.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, stuff is coming. New IPs are coming. Starfield is coming, for crying out loud. That's going to be huge. And you look at Skyrim, that sold like north of 30 million copies. That game was like a cultural phenomenon. Starfield could come out and do the same or better. But yeah, like, if you've hung on this long, as I keep saying, surely now you're at least sort of feeling
But then
one thing mad about it.
One thing I do want to talk about is I think Xbox should look at sort of the superhero genre, because PlayStation have sort of locked down Spider-Man to their console, which I think is done. They've done a sort of like a little deal, because ever since the MCU Spider-Man came like they managed to lease their own character back into their films, MCU films. The Spider-Man games have been exclusive to PlayStation, so that's not a coincidence. I think there's been a bit of like backroom handshakes and deals and stuff like that. So it's like if you want him if you want Spider-Man in your films, we want the right to make Spider-Man games exclusively on PlayStation. Marvel be like, okay then, yeah, sure. What's that? Because how else would you have like a character like Spider-Man exclusive to one console? That doesn't make sense, because obviously the games prior have come out on every platform, but now it's just PlayStation. But yeah, and also they got in Wolverine for some reason. Yeah, maybe that's more like to grease the palms of the PlayStation, so they can keep Spider-Man in the MCU. But I do think Xbox should probably look into like sort of acquiring a character, making it exclusive to their sort of ecosystem. Like people have suggested Batman, but not Batman. Like he can't get any better than the Arkham Knight series as well. And I don't. Look, I think like if you're looking at Marvel games, maybe look. It's such a they got the two biggest ones. I think Wolverine, obviously because of Hugh Jackman's portrayal. Hugh is like a really popular character. Spider-Man obviously has been big, but if you look a bit more into it, probably some other characters. Like I would suggest, maybe looking at making a Daredevil game for Xbox, because he's quite a popular character. I mean, the Netflix show was good. That's very popular. So it would make kind of like sense because he also is set in New York as well. You can make sort of like a gritty sort of superhero game of Daredevil. Like I don't know if everyone's familiar with Daredevil, but he's got sort of like a tragic background and stuff like that. You can make a really good story-based game with him, and he's like has not similar powers to Spider-Man, but he does do a lot of parkouring and sort of
very nimble
and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be my one. I would suggest it would be Daredevil. I think they can make a pretty good game for Daredevil.
So this does actually come up on forums and stuff quite a bit with that respect to superhero games. And I remember seeing a post somewhere, I can't remember where it was now, and someone suggested that they make a Daredevil game and give it to Ninja Theory, because they did all that kind of interesting audio stuff with Hellblade, where it sounds like the voices are kind of moving around you and all that stuff. And they were like, oh, yeah, that could work really well for Daredevil. And I was like, that would actually work really well for Daredevil. And then, hey, if it was a hit, maybe they could spin off and do an Elektra game, because an Elektra game could be really good. Like Elektra got done dirty in that crappy film they made, but like the Elektra as a character could work really well in a game.
To be fair, that does happen in the comics. She does get stabbed by Bullseye.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like the whole film was crap.
Oh yeah, remember the spin-off film?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about that? Oh
awful.
shit, yeah. I thought you were talking about her appearance in the Ben Affleck film. That was also pretty bad as well. So
it was. Yeah. That was before Marvel started actually making decent films.
Yeah, the bad days, man.
But yeah, also another one I saw was someone suggested that Coalition would make a good Punisher game, which could work quite well. So known for their third-person shooting, and being very violent. So that could be a pretty good match.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it is something that does come up a lot, I think, partly because of how big the MCU has been for the last 15 years almost, and also with like PlayStation having the Spider-Man games and now Wolverine. It's kind of leading people to go, "Oh, I want my superhero game on my console," which is fair enough, I think. Yeah, I don't know if Microsoft will go there. I get the feeling they want to own IPs that their first-party studios are working on at this point. And obviously, that's never going to be an option with like Disney stuff. They do have one studio working on a Disney-owned property, Machine Games, making that Indiana Jones game. So maybe a relationship can kind of work its way out from that, and maybe we'll see.
Yeah, people are saying, well, Indiana Jones, that'll come out on other platforms. I'm like, no, it won't.
Yeah, Disney had never let that be exclusive, really. Why wouldn't they?
No, why? I mean, like people were saying that about Star Wars, the Knights of the Republic. They're like, oh, it's exclusive. I was like, it's not, because they don't own the studio at all. It's just that they got the exclusivity for it, like a year or something like that. And plus, the people who work in the studio, I think the head of the studio said it is coming out on other platforms as well. But for now, because people are like, oh well, Sony are like paying for it, I'm like, no, they're not. No,
yeah, they're paying for exclusivity.
They're paying for the exclusivity. They're not. They have no hand in like in the development of the game. They don't like nothing like that. They're paying for the promotion on their console because got the exclusivity. They pay for the exclusivity, but nothing else about the game.
Just to branch off that briefly and on a slight tangent, there was a story came out the other day that apparently they're going to completely change like combat and stuff like that. So it sounds like it's basically going to be more of a reimagining than anything, which could go either way, really.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered. I mean, if the combat in Final Fantasy Remake was pretty good, I like that. Got away from the turn-based sort of thing. So if they do something like that with with Jedi, it kind of works. It works. It's just a shame that hopefully I'll be able to control the other characters, like actually control them, not just give them commands. Because in the originals, I could actually
switch
them, and I could actually play through the whole game as not as the main character, as your character. You can play as one of the party members. Obviously, when cutscenes happen, you revert back to the protagonist. But yeah, you could actually. I think I did like loads of sections where I was playing as Bastila, just running through it, and then like obviously when the cutscenes happen, I'll switch back to my character. But other than that, I would just play through it. Hopefully, you would still be able to do that because I would like to. And I can't wait to play that on PC. And then when it comes out on Xbox, I'll buy a physical copy of it. So that is my favorite game of all time. It's getting back Gen Hell. Maybe we should do a podcast about our favorite voice actors and talk about Troy Baker and stuff. And I'll give him some props.
Haven't we talked about Troy enough today?
Yeah, like we kind of I know, but
But no,
not in a negative, right?
As a topic.
Yeah.
We've made a habit of in the past going to cons and like going to voice actor signings and stuff. So it's something we kind of appreciate. So yeah, could do that as a topic one time. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for first party stuff. So I just want to have a quick rundown of the other things on there. We're not going to go super deep in anything, but like achievement system improvements is number 5 at 8%. Don't really care, to be honest. Achievements, I don't really look at them. If I unlock them, nice.
I do like I do like the rarity ones you get, the little diamond. That's pretty
cool. The little jingle.
Yeah, I'm like,
pops up. I got one on Halo Infinite last night actually for because you can like in Halo Infinite you can mark like points on the map or enemies and stuff. And apparently there's an achievement for marking someone if they're at top mid on a map.
Oh yeah.
And I did that yesterday. It just popped up. I was like, what the hell's that? That was kind of random. The next one down at 6% is just other. So it could be anything.
Oh, that's very vague, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the next one also on 6% is localization issues, which I have seen a lot of people complain about in sort of like smaller markets. Sometimes games don't get localized at all. They just kind of have to deal with it being in English, which sucks for a company as big as Microsoft, like the biggest company in the world. I'm sure they can afford to localize their games properly. So yeah, that's something that could probably be improved upon immeasurably. Next one down at 5%, Family Pass for Game Pass.
Yeah, that's
not something that affects me, but yeah, I mean, it's like I think what people want is like how you have like one Netflix account and you have like sub accounts on it and stuff like that. So
yeah,
people can have their own lists and stuff. So yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, the kiddies.
I mean, it wouldn't benefit me, but it would be a good option to have.
Yeah.
Next one down at 4% is Xbox app problems, and that's talking about the PC app, which is a bit of a mess. But I think it's this low down because I think Jez Corden's following is mainly console focused, so it's just not really an issue for most of the people responding.
Can I just say something?
No.
Please.
Go on.
Please. When you say Jez, right, it does sound a bit chummy, doesn't it? Because I know I mentioned this before on our failed podcast, but Jez, man. I always think, is that like, it sounds like he's a mate of ours, you know what I mean? Oh, good old Jez.
Jez down the pub.
Yeah, like, but it does seem like a bit chummy. Like, I'm like, is that his full name? Or is just the part of his name, like Jeffrey or something?
Jeremy or something.
Jeremy or something like that. Like, I'm just like, Jez. But that's how his handle is on Twitter. So, yeah, that's how it is. But I'm always like, you're all right, Jez. How's it going, Jez? Yeah, he's Jez Gordon's top guy. Like I know him.
Just undermining point there. We don't know him. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice person, and he writes really good articles. And he's got good things to say, and he looks a bit like you.
Yeah, and he doesn't sugarcoat it either.
Yeah.
He's if there's things that need to be said that are negative about Xbox, he's quite happy to say it, and that's a good thing because
hell yeah,
things aren't going to improve if you just blow and smoke up people's asses.
I think
next one is 4% also Xbox accessories problems. I don't even know what that means.
Hell, God knows. I don't know.
Headsets and stuff. I don't know. 2% is one you brought up earlier in the news section. Crossplay problems. Given how much that's been in the news, in the discussion recently, I'm surprised that's only at 2%. And also at 2%, Series S back compat quality. I know that's an issue because while the Series X gets the 1X profile on a back compat game, The Series S only gets the Xbox One profile, so tend to not get any like resolution boosts or anything. But I think the hands are probably tied with that with the amount of RAM the system has. And then the last two are also 2%, one of which is VR and one is marketing complaints.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. VR. They've not
yeah,
really done anything with VR, have they? Nothing at all. I don't even think they're gonna bother. I know there was that virtual
not looking
reality,
like it.
not virtual reality, that
HoloLens.
HoloLens that they were working on. That seems to have like been swept under the carpet. And that would have been quite interesting. But I don't know what's happening if they're still doing anything with that. I knew they got who's the head of Mass Effect, the BioWare. Was it,
Casey Hudson.
yeah, they got him when he came over to Microsoft to work on that. I was like, what the fuck
What
are
a
you doing?
waste.
What a waste of talent, man. Why are you
Yeah,
getting
I
to work
think
on
they I
HoloLens?
think they refocused it on enterprise, and they're just sort of working away at it, trying to get it to work for enterprise and less for games. But
Okay.
yeah, Phil Spencer mentioned VR when they announced the One X, and I called it VR ready and stuff. But they haven't done anything. I think they've probably been they probably thought VR was going to take off more than it has at that point, and the fact that it hasn't really taken off all that much has probably just made them go, "Oh, there's no rush."
Yeah, it's yeah, VR, man. Like some people like it. I know you played Half-Life Alex on VR and it was pretty good. I think that's the only
It's very
like
good.
really big standout game so far, isn't it? It's VR Alex. All the other ones are like sort of like pretty shitty.
Experiences.
Yeah, and like it's like a haven for all these like sort of indie games, really badly made ones and stuff. So
I mean,
mm,
there's good stuff, but it's like it's not getting the huge support that you'd probably want if you're going to spend like 300-400 quid on a headset. Like Half-Life Alex pretty much is the biggest thing. Um, Resident Evil 7 had a VR mode that was apparently really good, but it was locked to PlayStation VR for some reason. It never came to any other VR headset, so that sucks.
I don't know
Not
why
that
they
I'd have
locked
played
it.
it in VR.
Why lock it when it's so niche? Surely you want it on other platforms to spread it.
Well, exactly.
Uh,
But yeah, a lot of the stuff is like smaller stuff like Beat Saber. Beat Saber is a ton of fun, but
oh yeah, Beat
it doesn't
Saber.
really justify like a 400 quid headset.
Uh,
But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see him look into it, but I don't think there's any rush to be honest.
well,
I have a PSVR and I've got a Rift S, and I use them both. I mean, I haven't used the PSVR since I bought the Rift S, to be fair, but I use the Rift like 3 or 4 times a year. Don't really use it very much, so I'm not sort of clamoring for Xbox to get involved in VR, to be honest.
yeah.
The last one, marketing complaints, is something I was actually thinking about earlier because I saw some forum chatter about people saying that Xbox don't seem to actually do any marketing anymore outside of like Twitter stuff. And it got me thinking, I don't think I've seen a single TV ad for Halo Infinite, which is kind of crazy to think about because Halo games always get big TV advertising campaigns.
Thing is, I don't watch that much TV. My gamers, this is going to sound so. Gamers really don't watch that much TV. We spend so much time on the internet, on YouTube. That's where the advertising is. So, to be fair, I don't really blame them for that. They're like, well, our market audience and mostly everyone, even my mum, who's in her 70s, has a phone and goes on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's where it is, man. Like I don't think I watched any sort of TV. I watched stuff during the Christmas period just because there was like Christmas stuff on. But other than that, I don't watch. There's weeks I go past and I don't watch any TV. Nothing. Even if I did, like I would watch it online, use the apps like the BBC app, ITV app. I would just watch it on my Xbox or my PC. So I don't actually watch terrestrial television per se. Like, so there's part of me thinking, why do I want to buy a new TV? Should I just buy a monitor or something like that? But yeah, so I understand that. I can understand why that's so low. Maybe put it. I do see games on buses, and like video games on buses to go past, but on terrestrial television and stuff, I've not seen it because I don't watch any. So they're probably thinking that is like, well, all our guys are on there. They have social media. They have access to like to online stuff. So that's why they're going to do their advertising. It makes sense to me, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally get that, but the others are still doing TV advertising. Sony still do it, Nintendo still do it, so that it must get some kind of return.
It might maybe like it probably like but I'm not really bothered about that, to be honest with you. Like PlayStation always seem to have ads on Xbox like content, so maybe that's another thing they're doing for game. If it's like a YouTube, if a Xbox eccentric channel, they would have like PlayStation ads on there for their games or hardware. So yeah, but yeah, television, I couldn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't watch much TV these days. It's usually kind of just on in the background, or I'm just watching the news. But it just kind of struck me today that I haven't seen a single TV ad for Halo Infinite, and that just seems weird for me, given how big the campaigns were for previous Halo games. Even Halo 5 had TV ads that I remember seeing on popping up quite a lot.
The thing is, did it improve the sales? I mean, like, did it really? Like, has it affected the sales of Halo Infinite?
I think it's just like
because you got Game Pass as well, and that's huge. So you don't really need to advertise it when you can just get it for on day one, for free. So
yeah, it just feels like a mind share thing. Though it kind of feels like they're seeding an audience to the competition by just not being there. Which feels a bit strange to me. Like I get it that most of it's online, and that makes sense to be the focus. It just kind of feels like they're missing something to me. But yeah, apparently the vast majority of people don't agree. 2% is the joint lowest thing on the pie chart.
They agree with me. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, we've exhausted the pie chart, Paul.
Well,
and Mr. Jez Gordon's article.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon Jezza, for giving us content to talk about on this podcast. Thank you very much. We will tag you in this on when we tweet this on Twitter. Please give it a watch, or if not, give it a listen on Spotify. Give it a listen. Also, Amazon, Audible, anywhere where you can get a podcast. Apart from Apple Music, I haven't put it on there yet.
Yeah, we don't like Apple. They suck.
Yeah, I really should do an artwork with all the places you can get it and put it on like YouTube or Twitter. But yeah, is that it, Mr. Ross? Anything else? Like, what are we doing on the channel before we wrap up?
I think that's it for our main topic. What we're doing on the channel, we've still got our ongoing co-oping Resident Evil 5, which is hopefully coming to an end soon because we're both getting kind of sick of it.
We enjoyed it at the beginning, and now it's like please can you end, because it's getting really annoying.
After that, we'll probably be moving on to It Takes Two, getting on that Game of the Year hype, and seeing what that's all about. I don't think either of us actually know that much about the game. Haven't really looked. We know like the broad strokes of it, but we haven't looked at much of it. So if you want to see two idiots coming fairly fresh to that game, stick around for that after our Resident Evil 5 co-op. Let me just turn that off on my phone.
You got the same alarm as me. I use that to wake up.
So do I at 9 p.m. at night. But yeah, we're gonna do some. Sorry, I'm just watching your cat in the background.
Yeah, he's sitting beside me. Yeah, and
behind me. We've got our own stuff going on. Obviously, Paul's streaming over on Twitch, Mass Effect 3 at the moment, and I am doing nothing at the moment because I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I've got a couple of ideas for some VR stuff I want to do, actually, which kind of links into the tiny proportion of Xbox fans that care about VR. So once I can figure that out, because recording VR is a big pain in the ass, I'll start putting some of that stuff up. I will have another Halo video coming either this week or next week, finish off my high value targets, and then I'll be done with Halo Infinite until any DLC maybe that comes out.
Hopefully our next podcast will be the spoiler cast of Halo Infinite. So we can...
Yes, with any luck. Paul, we're just waiting on Paul to finish the game, and we'll do our spoiler cast for that. And got 2 weeks, Paul, so
Yeah.
Pull your finger out.
Yeah. So just follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and
Like and subscribe and all that
all that
cliche
stuff.
crap.
Yeah, man.
And we will see you in a couple of weeks for the next podcast.
Hopefully.
Bye.
Yeah.